Hello and welcome to another edition of Cisilian's Beyond the Tech podcast. Today I'm joined by our Director of Microsoft, Tori Barnard, and one of our Microsoft partners, Oliver Haylett. And today we're going to talk about how Cisilion can bring that true value of partnership to our customers when dealing with the Microsoft estate, whether that's from the procurement of licensing through to the actual deployment of that and running that service into operation. So we're going to explore a number of different topics, but maybe first, Tori, if I start with you around, where does Cisilion provide that value to our Microsoft clients?
From my perspective, where does Cisilion provide that value to our clients and separate ourselves from competitors in the market is via an old-fashioned notion, but one that's totally relevant, which is to be a trusted advisor. We'll cover during the course of this conversation the Microsoft changing landscape, so keeping up to date with those changes, being the person that keeps your customers current and up to date with changes is a job in itself, and leading with consultancy, not just platforms, is where we shine.
Yeah. And it's about keeping that expertise as well, isn't it? I think it's such a changing landscape, very quick, and it's very dynamic, that we see that value in our expertise, because I would imagine there's a number of customer pain points that we see quite commonly across those. So maybe Oliver, what do you see as the pain points when dealing with?
Yeah, coming back to the value aspect of it as well, with them changing demands, the customers' demands have certainly been changing as well on the onus and the expectation of what an MSP can deliver. And I think that's a big aspect of what we're seeing in the market. It's now changing from 3 to 5 years ago of what an MSP needs to deliver from a advisor perspective, but also from a platform perspective, probably more where I come in from. Things around analytics and optimization are expectations now that customers want to see. We're seeing more and more in-depth questionnaires coming for various RFPs and tender documentation, which specifically hones in on what kind of platform give the customer in terms of a value. And that then leaks into the pain points that the customers are having. A massive one that we're seeing in the channel at the moment is around billing and visibility of billing and operational costs around licensing. Not just licensing, but moving into the Azure environments a lot of the customers have as well, where it's a little bit more unpredictable with the fluctuations of costs. It's how a managed provider can...
The costs tend to be rising, I assume. That seems to be, very rarely do they go down.
That's a typical theme, and it's how we can steady that rise and how we can forecast that over the next 6 to 12 months for yearly budgets, which is quite critical for the customers at hand. Not having a workload that's jumping and as volatile as it needs to be, and looking at how we can optimize that environment to give them a predictability for a quarter, for a year, and that's a big pain point there. And the other one I think is around the security aspect. I think now a lot of organizations are starting to dabble more and more into the AI conversation, how the security aspects of where their data is, what their data is being used for on things like ChatGPT, open source, and how the business can look to monitor and take a little bit more ownership of what's being put out there from their employees. I think that's a big pain point at the moment that organisations are going through.
And obviously, our industry is becoming a lot more regulated, and the compliance factors have got to play into that, haven't they?
Certainly, the audits that certainly we go through from a platform perspective are being a lot more heavily scrutinised with the new. You've got your classic ISO 27001, but also all of the new AI ones that are coming out as well that we need to be on top of from a platform perspective, instilling that trust into the partner and therefore into the customer as well, that we can have that reliability, that secure framework for them, so that then when they're audited themselves of where they're procuring licenses from, we match.
Yeah. And that goes across different geo areas. Governance and legislation varies from territory to territory. We have a number of organisations that we work with that span across different geolocations, so actually helping them to differentiate their needs for governance based on the territory that they're operating in is even more prevalent in today's world.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and we've seen that we've been a Microsoft partner for the best part of 15 years now, and we've seen that a lot of our clients are kind of, you know, moving forward at removing the technical debt by moving into the cloud, but then they're faced with cloud sprawl, and it's how they get control of the cost of that. It's got, you know, it must be a really key driver to solve.
Definitely, and I think one of the biggest challenges that they have is time to do that job, because this is a new job, it's a more frequent job. The days of budgeting for 5 to 7 years are truly in the past. Asking for developers perhaps to have ownership or accountability of spend can only be governed if you manage your spend and implement FinOps technologies and platforms that allow you to separate what is development, which business unit, which entity, which customer has had increased spend, and how do you manage that effectively?
Yeah. So how do we, how do we do that then? What is our solution for managing, you know, optimizing that licensing and managing that life cycle of that technology?
Well, lots of it's driven by platform, and Oliver, you can touch on that and expand a bit more about the benefits and features of platform. But platform is tooling that needs to be driven by a person. For me, DIY is not a popular option. If you can have an industry expert operate those tools for you and give you guidance based on their expertise, it will provide you with a higher return on any tooling or partnership that you invest in, because you're not going out there learning it by yourself. You have dedicated resource that will provide you with top level insights of what's going to be valuable to you, reduce your spend and allow you to optimize your environment.
100%. I think as well, the customer's fear of change is also a conversation that you have at the start of how many variables there is typically when you're looking at customers, not just in the UK, but they've potentially got multi-tenancy. You mentioned some wider organisations that expand into Europe with the compliance and things like that. But we can work, and I think that's the beauty of it, is that the guys from a platform perspective and the partner perspective can take everything and do a lot of that grunt work to build out the plan, and it is not as complex as the customer expects when they see it. I think that's what's a big factor when we speak and listen to customers' pain points, is a variety of number of bills for a variety of number of cost centres, a variety of number of end dates and renewal terms that need to be met. Some are in March, some are in September, and it's the whole consolidation piece of leave that to the experts in Cisilion that can do that and have done that very well over the last 5-10 years, and how we build that plan out that the customer can then look and utilise for the change. I think the platform really does help, and it stands out and gives that functionality to do it with the license analytics and the optimization tools. But we've got our platform built heavily invested around Microsoft, so supporting on co-terming licenses to match one bill for one end date for one renewal period every year. So customers know when their budget is coming up, they know when their renewal period is for their licenses. As well as that, organisations are changing throughout the year, so we want to make sure it's as easy as possible for the organisation to change without a lot of the work that they would have done to consolidate being affected. So things like new employee starters when they need licenses ahead of time, making sure we've got that functionality so they can do that straight away.
Yeah, but pre-order is probably one of the most popular features and doesn't get as much credit as it should. Nobody wants to employ people on a Monday and on a Monday have to go in and increase license count. The ability to know that you've got joiners in 10 days time and to go into platform and say, I would like to add X amount of users to go live on a future date, allows people to be better organised, to pull their licenses and ensure that they're meeting the demands of their business.
And how do we, Microsoft, as we've seen, increase prices from time to time. So how do we mitigate that impact? Is it a lot about mapping out those scenarios, knowing what's coming down the line from a customer's perspective? Because you can't second guess Microsoft.
No. I think there's a few ways that you can do that. For me, the first way that you would do that is not just look at what are you consuming at a license level, but at a technology level, to understand the different profiles within an organisation, and also to take change into consideration. So Microsoft are included Defender in E5 as of July. So ensuring that any clients that are paying for that separately are aware, make short-term commitments to that SKU in an interim period will help them benefit from extra functionality and observation of that cost. Because if it's included from July, why would you renew it for 12 months or 36 when in effect you will no longer need to subscribe to that product from July onwards? Likewise, multi-term, so Microsoft have introduced a lot more 3-year SKUs beyond Dynamics than they had previously. That doesn't mean that clients should put every single license that they've got onto a 3-year SKU. You want to allow for change, but you want to extend price protection. And it's about working with clients to understand their needs, the features they're consuming, and to help them protect themselves against price change over the longer term.
And what do we need from a client to start this process? What is our engagement model? And is it, we need so much information, the client almost gets bored of having to provide it to us? How easy it is to initiate a process like this?
Back-end API, tooling, dialogue, information. So traditionally, it would have been a bill of materials and conversation, but in today's era, with the utilisation of tooling, it's easier to identify unassigned licenses and inactive people.
Okay. And there are certain compelling gates, milestones when the customer who potentially doesn't look at this as day-to-day should act. Are there dates coming up? Is it, what are the compelling factors that they should start this process?
I think any announcement that a customer may see around Microsoft licensing is a very compelling argument to raise a question and inquire about what could be done. A very common theme within the market is oversubscribing to licenses that an organisation doesn't need. Organisations might not know that. They might have already done it last year, and then people might have gone and assigned some licenses that they've not been on top of this year. So there's never a wrong point to inquire for an optimization and a landscape review, because typically within the Microsoft world, there's always something that we can and can't do as it continuously evolves of what licenses make up the enterprise suites and the business we've seen.
They're bundled together, consolidated.
Exactly that. And working with the trusted advisors and the platform partners, we get the closest to insight of what Microsoft are doing over the next 12 months to 2 years around that price increase that we've seen so commonly happen over the last 5 years. So it's what we can do to mitigate that. And I think by getting on as soon as you see something that's changing is a perfect chance to, one, just price protect yourself over the next couple of years, but two, can you reduce that amount as well? So when you do see a price rise coming, it might not necessarily be a price increase for your monthly bill. It might be a way of actually lowering it down with an optimization.
Yeah, I mean, one of the most typical objections is that I'm already in an agreement.
Right.
I've got 2 more years of price protection. So perhaps as an organisation, you might feel that it's not worth the time to enter into dialogue when you are mid-term of an existing contract. But on the flip side of that, these compelling dates allow you to separate your existing agreements and actually have another conversation in silo to that to extend your protection. So if you are 2 years into a subscription and you take out additional subscriptions that last for 3 years at a lower quantity, doesn't that allow you to extend your price protection for an additional 12 months? And I don't see anyone that would object to that. It's just about being open to have that conversation, to understand, yes, you're in an agreement, yes, you're protected for a duration of time. Where we're breaking the mould is we're saying to organisations, that's fine, this is not instead of, this is as well as an extended price protection based on value and that top level view of what can we do to protect you for as long as possible.
And it shouldn't, our value should not just be around saving the customer money. Yes, it's a big tick in the box, but I think I look at what we do for our customers is, it's that whole concept of that partner. Yes, being a partner to provide you with that licenses, but what else do we do as an organisation that adds value?
What else do we do as an organisation that add value? We have different parts of the business that will work together in synergy that can perhaps provide workshops or professional services, additional managed services to add layers of security support where skills are lacking, and skill shortages in our industry are so common, especially when you look at the evolution of technology's point products. So actually working together cohesively as an organisation allows us to add those values to customers because it's one team, one message, one value add.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Cisilion have been a support and a managed service partner for best part of 20 years, and I think what we see is that we're not just here to provide you with a license, we're here to provide you with that alternative support. We run a 24/7 service centre that is not there just for traditional instant response. Something's gone wrong, I need help, but it's there for that proactive nature, that continual optimization, not just of licensing, but of configuration. User adoption and training must be. We see that as a huge area in terms of, how do you get the maximum out of your investment? You've bought these licenses.
Great point.
Are you actually using them?
Well, you're efficient. You're on the best value SKU for your organisation. What comes next has to be the return on that investment. So how do you improve the return on your investment? You ensure that you turn on products. You go beyond Microsoft into third point security products, perhaps email security, perhaps different types of antivirus technologies, and you look to improve your use of Microsoft security components, perhaps in particular, which overall increases your ROI and decreases your overall IT budget.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do you see as kind of the value add above just the cost savings from your perspective?
I think two key areas are the 24/7 support that isn't just there for break fix and when things go wrong, but it's there to plan and help. So we've got a variety of accredited architects, pre-sales engineers that can deliver workshops on existing licenses just to get the best functionality of those, but also for any potential projects and further rollouts for AI and the co-pilot rollouts that come up. We run a lot of workshops for a lot of organisation just to intro and upskill of what that could look like. But then the managed part on top of that of the architecture and the design in the organisation, when we can roll out, how we'll roll out, and looking at every element and pillar of what that project needs is a big aspect and a big thing that customers are wanting. They're not just wanting us to look at it 24/7 and monitor it and make sure that nothing's going wrong, but also what could be done in the future as we grow and
a forward-looking view about what can you use this technology for.
Exactly. I think that's really popular. I think the design and the ever-changing landscape of Microsoft, and it being so embedded within a lot of the customers' organizations as well, and there's thousands of resources in the Azure and infrastructure environments, but also thousands of services that the licensing is offering.
It's impossible for a customer to keep up without having a very large IT team. They can't keep up with.
Exactly. There's not many people you'll find that are accredited in every aspect, and so it's leveraging the individual accredited people for that specific area that we can give access to the customers to run those web shops and frameworks.
And then a point you mentioned, which is adoption. Taking your users in your organisation on that journey with you, ensuring that they are skilled and ready to use the new tools that you're introducing as an organisation, managing and monitoring adoption. So delivering workshops and training for end users doesn't ensure that they are competent and capable. So actually having key measures and metrics in place to ensure that the delivery of adoption workshops is successful.
Yeah, absolutely. And by doing that, we're freeing up the internal teams to focus on the innovation.
Yep.
What's coming down the line, and I think it's we very much act as the extension to their IT team.
Bringing tech and people together.
Yeah, absolutely. So what would you if you were to call out a call to action for anyone listening to this podcast at the moment? What would we advise our customers to do?
Get in touch.
Yeah.
We're open to dialogue, free of charge assessments. We understand in this competitive industry that we need to provide value, and how do we do that is show and tell.
Yeah.
You have a conversation with us, we'll give you our advice. Should you choose to work with us, fantastic. If not, then you know what we can offer as an organisation, and from experience, anyone that doesn't necessarily engage with us, that wants to get that value and remains with their incumbent, be aware that if they're not cutting edge now, will they ever be?
Yeah.
Is it that consultancy-led approach, or is it here's some tooling, here's some platforms, off you go?
Yeah, absolutely. Oliver, what would you add?
Yeah, echoing some similar points. I think there's never a wrong time to be getting in touch and looking at your IT infrastructure and your licensing and what could be done. I think the big one for me is challenge the way of working at the moment. What can be done? What are you missing out potentially in your workload day to day as an individual?
And we hear that all the time. The first obstacle is, it's fine. We know what we're doing.
Yes.
Yes.
Sticking to the status quo is great, and we can get the job done. But what else can be done on top of that to get the job done more efficiently? Quicker ways of working, quicker workflows within an organisation. I think it's challenging that barrier. We've got so many big investments being made into the rise of AI and Microsoft. It's what we can get out of the tooling and the things like that to better the organisation, to be more agile, to better service their customers at the end of the day as well.
Preconceived ideas of what good looks like. We'll show you from a Cisilion perspective what good looks like, and introduce you to some of our other clients who will tell you from their own perspective the impact that we've had to their business via case studies.
Yeah. And the cost savings are real, yeah?
Yeah.
I'm assuming we say 20, 30, 40, how much do we save?
On average, between 10 and 35% of a customer's overall consumption and spend. But it's not always, like you say, traditional cost savings as in a cheaper price per unit.
It's the value.
It's the value. It's the consolidation, the top level view of is what you need fit for purpose for you as an organisation, the different ways that you can procure. And it's not one shoe fits all.
Yeah.
There is a place for monthly, annual monthly, 3-year and enterprise agreement.
But predictable, I think that's probably a key word. Let's try and get you predictable monthly costs. Yes.
Yeah.
Lower your operational risk.
Yeah.
Improve your performance, your stability, stronger security posture. Yeah, and that knowing that you've got a support and managed service provider behind you, continually trying to move that estate forward and give more value.
Yeah, there's a preconceived idea that with Microsoft prices and the price increases, distribution and MSPs win the price increases. But it's just not the case. It's the conversations that start off the back of that for organisations to look. Every MSP in the channel is looking to make savings and make costs. It's 4 different billing types, 4 different license types that customers can go on, and it's sharing every insight. That organisation might fit a mould of a case study already, but it might also want its own case study, and they might want monthly licensing, prepaid licensing, and it's the ability to fit all of the budgets that organisations got, the costs, and we might heavily have moved from CapEx to OpEx, but we can have a blended mix of exactly what that organisation wants now to save them money at the bottom line of that, and that's the important part.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose the age-old question is, well, why Cisilion? Surely there are lots of organisations that can do this. And if you were to kind of close this podcast in why does Cisilion do it better than our competitors?
I think I've already mentioned the consultancy-led approach. Outside of that, it would be that we are a provider that sticks to our roots in terms of the core values and pillars of our business, which is Microsoft and Cisco. We do work with other vendors, but we do not present ourselves as a reseller for all types of software and technologies. We want to add value, and the only way you can add value is being niche, sticking to your core values, and not trying to sell everything and anything, which can lead to conflicts of interest where there are products that perhaps you wouldn't want to displace because of the profitability of them. We don't have those issues because we are sticking to where we can add that value, and agility, trust and excellence are our strapline. It's what we embody and deliver every day.
Excellent. Well, look, appreciate your time. I hope for those listening that was a useful episode, and gives you a clearer picture of what Cisilion can do with our Microsoft partner.